here's your heads up to this, longer Personal Development Unplugged podcast. And it's all about following Alby Einstein's little bit of confusion. In simplicity, there's genius. But everything shouldn't be more simple than it should be. Oh, I don't know. Come with me and let's have a think together.
Warning.
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 Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Hi guys, Paul here. Personal Development Unplugged, the podcast. So here's a question to you. A question I've been thinking about. When is simple too simple? You see, the reason I was thinking about that is because I got confused. I got a little bit confused because here at Personal Development Unplugged, got that little baseline from old Alby Einstein. In simplicity, there's genius, which I think is awesome because we've been trying to deconstruct the complicated here and make things simple. And sometimes we confuse simplicity with easy. And that's not the same thing, is it? Things aren't necessarily easy, even if they're simple. You still take effort to do things. And then old Alby Einstein came across something else, or said something else. And this is where my confusion came in. And he said, everything should be as simple as it can be, but not simpler. Oh, bloody hell. Now, what did that mean? Not simpler. Does it mean that there's not enough effort? I don't know, because just because things are really simple, I wonder what the result would be. And maybe that's the real nux and the nub of what I'm thinking, really. Because it's, I guess, the intention to get the best results, get the results you intended with the least amount of effort, but also getting the results, because it's the results that matter, isn't it? So it's your intention to get the best results intended and actually getting them. Now, you know that I often have my little rant about experts making things complicated. We have the clickbait experts, and they're the ones with the pictures of in front of a plane or a car and champagne and all that stuff. But we're not talking about that part. We're talking about the experts who actually make things more complicated or appear to make them more complicated. And I do wonder. I wonder about their intention. I wonder, what do you think it is? I mean, for me, I guess what I'm thinking about, is it ego-led? To make themselves masquerading, I think, but make them appear as a master, a guru, or as what I think is the inventor of something that's already there. And if you make it more complicated, and if you add lots of new words, people think it must be good and it's new, because they're not looking through that mist, the thing that's hiding what's behind all that. I see a lot of this in the hypno world, where there's some really good processes to help people, and they've been around for years. And yes, you can change them, you can develop them, they evolve, but it's still the same basic concept of that process. It's not new. And that's when people make things more complicated. They give it a different name and they move things around. And I think that's wrong. But I'm not talking about that, though. So why are you talking about it, Cluffy? Well, I was giving you an example. That's all it was. And to that example, I want to give you two real examples of this thing. When is simple too simple? And when is complicated, maybe not complicated as such, but maybe more is less, as opposed to less is more. Both work in my mind. Anyway, have a think. Have a think when you listen to these two. Well, they're not stories. I'm going to tell you a story, but they're real examples happened in my life. Back in my other life, when I used to work in the building industry, I moved from what was at one time a national building company. I then went to a fairly big claims consultancy, lots and lots of of ways of doing things. And we used to have this thing called BS9. I think it was BS 9000. That's supposed to be pretty standard, but I think the BS stands for something better. But there were lots of different rules that you had to follow. And I moved from that world into a completely different environment. In fact, it was just me and my colleague Mike, who I've spoken to you about in the past, doing our bit, doing a very important bit in the building industry, but it was our company. And you see, I went straight into that with all of this BS stuff, thinking, well, you have to do it this way, we have to do it this way, you have to do it that way. And all Mike used to say was, well, if you think so. And they left it at that. And I used to keep wondering, why would you say, if you think so? Because I knew it was important. And then I started to think, well, actually, all the things I'm trying to do, well, therefore, they're in the wrong context, because we're in control. So we don't have to do all these rules. We have to have some rules, important rules, but we don't have to have rules upon rules upon rules upon rules. So we didn't. And you know what? It was heaven. It was so nice to be able to work freely with one intention in mind: do a bloody good job and get repeat business and have people like what we do and like us. That was it. Now the thing is, we got bigger, and we employed a lovely guy to come and work with me. And he came from the same type of background that I did. And there was it all repeated again. He came in and said, well, we've got to do this and we've got to do that and we've got to do that. And I could hear myself saying it out loud. If you think so, Jamie, if you think so, that's fine. And it even got to the point, and this is the days of fax machines, he would order in lots of different coloured paper, because you had to have a different colour paper for a different type of person. And he'd have a little book with we would put all the things, well, we didn't, he did, put all the addresses and when he sent them and who did that, and he kept a log of it and all this stuff, because that's what he was used to. And we used to keep thinking, well, yeah, that's very good, Jay, very good, but do you really need it? You know you've sent it. We know you've sent it. Do we need anybody else? And in the end, he used to look at us, and both Mike and I say, well, if you think so. And he goes, I don't need to do this, do I? I went, no. Just do the important things. If it's important, you can do it. So it's a bit like, I guess, you hear of people writing content for say blogs or books and things like that. They do the first draft. And I used to think, why do you do a first draft? Why can't you get it right first time? And then you look at it and go, well, it's actually about stripping away what's not important and making things more concise. Looking, have I missed something? Put it in. But if I don't need it, could I say it easier? Could I make it more simple? And people would go, and on my third edit, I've got my final edit. You go, wow, didn't realise. And of course, it's the same thing. Stripping out what's not important and making things simple. Not too simple, just right. And there you go. Everything should be as simple as it can be, but not simpler. There you go. So that confirms that's the right thing to do. And then I've got a counterexample. You see, in NLP, in the early days of NLP, and some people still use it, and we do, there's a thing it's a process called the NLP 6-step reframe. You don't need to know what it is, but it's just a reframing of behaviors. It's just a simple way to change unwanted behaviors. But the thing is, we found that it was a little bit too general. And I've seen other people write it up and what they do. And I go, that's just still too general. Because I really wanted to make sure that it's not just changing a negative behavior, but also keeping that initial intention from the unconscious mind. Because the intention is always positive. Every behavior has a positive intention. Just sometimes those behaviors no longer are appropriate. So this is what we thought. Joseph and I, my younger son, looked at this and said, well, I wonder what's missing anyway. What's missing to make it as simple, but make it even better? And we looked at it and thought, well, basically it only talks about changing behavior. And to us, the emotions alongside that behavior are really important. And the belief system behind that behavior is really important. We've talked about beliefs and values, haven't we, before, how important they are. And the thing is, when you have an intention from the unconscious mind, it wants to do something positive to you. So if we can change the old negative beliefs that used to be there with positive beliefs and attach to them positive, powerful emotions, but emotions that are readily available, not ones that could be available, but they're there. So we have a belief system added to that powerful emotions, and then make the behaviors match to those emotions and beliefs, all being supported by that intention, but also supporting the intention itself. And we thought, well, if we just add 3 or 4 steps and then repeat them in different, for longevity, would that make it, well, would it make it better? We felt it would make it better, more permanent, because a lot of it is about taking those changes in the unconscious mind and doing them over a period of time inside. And what we know is repetition is the mother of skill. But also, it doesn't make anything better. It doesn't make it perfect. It makes it permanent. So we get the unconscious mind to then practice, but also question itself. Question itself, is what we're doing better than the old way? And also getting the unconscious mind to learn along the way. And these were the steps that we didn't feel were being covered. So we changed them. And the difference that made. Now, here's that blooming thing. Now we've got 2 examples, both completely opposite. One we've stripped away to the important stuff and made something really work. Then we've got something else, and we didn't strip away, we've actually added to it. And I think made it better. Made it, just work. So what's the difference between the 2? Well, my thoughts were, my thoughts were, it's the questions we ask ourselves when we're looking at systems, processes. So can I strip away the fluff, the complicated stuff, and still get the result and outcome? So that's one thing. If I'm getting the outcome, could I make it simpler? Can I strip away the stuff that's no longer required? So that's if you're getting the outcome. Let's see if we can get it to make it easier to do. Still effort, but it becomes a little easier. Or if it's I'll start again, Paul. If it's not really achieving the outcome, you ask yourself, does this really achieve the outcome I intend? And what's the minimum I need to add to make it work? And that's the most important thing, the minimum. And I think what you end up doing is you add it and then you look to see, can you take some of that away again? Isn't it interesting though? You can have, well, I think it's interesting. You have that dichotomy, both ends. But this time, both ends really work. But I think it's up to you to be comfortable with that. Because as I say, some people make it more complicated for what's sake. We have to think about that. And some people try to strip it away to make it too easy. And that sometimes, when I say too easy, it means you're not getting the result, but it's easier to do. It's not simpler. You're trying to make it too easy because you don't want to put the effort in. And then I think sometimes we then suffer a bit by the results that we get. And at the end of the day, it's the results that we get are the most important. So maybe when you look at your goals, or the things that you do, or the projects that you have, or the systems that you've put in place, or your rituals, or anything that we do, I think it's good to maybe just sit back occasionally, that old pausing, that stopping, and just ask yourself the questions. Can I strip away and still get the results? Still get my outcome? Still keep the intention? But I'm not quite getting the results. You're not achieving your outcome, you ask. What can I add? What's the minimum I can add to this and get the outcome I choose and keep that intention? So what does that all mean, I guess, in summary? It means being flexible to change, doesn't it? But you really have to know before you even begin, what is your intention and what's your outcome? Because again, that's something which is, in simplicity there's genius. That is the most simplest flash of the bleeding obvious, but that we tend to forget. What is our outcome? What is our intention? Once we get that, and then we look at the flexibility that we have, and just notice. We could ask those questions. We all need time to de-stress, don't we? We all need that space. Everyone needs space. Our own place of personal retreat. And going to retreats are great. But if you can't, why not have one in your mind? If you don't go to that special place, that stress just builds and builds and builds. But if you have a place in your mind where you can go and de-stress, work out problems, think of all the wonderful things that you'll be able to do. The wonderful feelings. So that's why I've created this program of 4 hypnosis tracks to build and be and have your own inner retreat. You can have whatever you like in that inner retreat. There can be rooms, there can be libraries, healing rooms, different lighting, maybe a fire in the corner, a special chair, maybe incense, anything that you choose. Some people have a computer that stores all the memories you've ever had, that library of everything you've ever read or everything you ever need to know. Maybe a healing room, a room where you can just go to and have your own inner healing or own inner relaxation. So what have I done? I've created these 4 tracks. 1 to build, 1 to extend it whenever you need to extend it, and then to be able to go there for a particular period of time or even a longer period of time. So you've got 2 tracks of just going and being in that special place where you can, take a problem with you, maybe muse it over in that special place, or you can leave it there, leave it to incubate in your unconscious mind. So when you come back, well, you can just have the answers come, or they might just come consciously. It's all there for you. All you have to do is go to paulcloughonline.com/retreat, have a look, give you a nice little video there, just see if it's for you. I think it's a lovely little program. There's nothing to lose because there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. It's a lovely program, and I think it was one I wanted to do for myself because I just thought it's such a wonderful thing to do. I love retreats, but hey, this is your own personal one. Have a look. Enjoy. There you go. Now, a couple of things I thought about while I was talking about this is, what do I really want to tell you about all of this? Because I think one of the most important things I got out of this was, it's okay to question what you do, but question it with the right intention, with the right outcome. Again, we go back to that same first bloody thing. What's my outcome? What's my intention? But I think sometimes we do have to question it, because sometimes we go off at such a rate of knots that we forget that maybe there's an extra step to add, or maybe there's too many steps. So pausing is always good, knowing your intention, your outcome, and then just questioning before you start. You see, when you do that, I think you begin to get the freedom to create what works. And when you do that, you're creating something special for you. But the thing is then, if you could share that with people, share what you're doing, your thought process, the results you get. Sometimes you can share it just by the example you're setting. Be the example you want to see in others. Be the change you want to see in others. And just by showing it. But I think just getting that freedom to create and question to get the best result, and then sharing it. And I thought to myself, well, why is that so important? Well, you see, for you, but my thought was, it's liberating, isn't it? It confirms you're on the right path to success. You're becoming and evolving into something more special than you ever thought. And what would happen if you did this? These questions, these thoughts of either paring back or adding to, if you fired off that anchor of passion from the previous podcast. And you see, for me, why was this important to me? See, when I remember this, it empowers me to be more creative. It empowers me to look at what I'm doing now. Because this was like writing out, as I said before, this is like my own personal journal that I'm sharing with you. These are my thoughts of what's happening to me in my life. So I'm actually doing exactly what I've just said for you. The way I want you to feel, to have that freedom to create, but share it. So in some ways, not 100%, because it's difficult to walk the walk and walk the talk at the same time, all the time. But I'm trying to do that. And I want to encourage you to do that. Because if I can encourage you to do just a little bit of this, maybe with your dreams, I know that you're going to start creating dreams that are so much more than you first imagined. Especially when you fire off passion and you get creative and you start sharing with that wonderful integrated field of learning where things just happen to multiply in such a way. And again, we talk about our failures in life and our failures to when we do things. Well, this time we're questioning and learning from those so-called failures, which they're not, because they're just areas of our learning. They're just experiences. Because then we can look at it and say, well, maybe it was too complicated. Maybe we made it too complicated because we thought we had to. Because sometimes we really think we have to make things so complicated to get this wonderful result. But if we understand our outcome, the result that we want, and then look at the steps, can we pare things away? Or if we're missing the results, maybe there's a step that we missed. And you need those supposedly failures to find those steps. And when you do that, you're going to know the next time you do something, there may be some anticipation, but it won't be fear anymore. It'll start to be creative excitement, especially when you fire that passion. And then it doesn't matter. I guess quite a lot here, don't I? But it doesn't matter about what anybody else says. There's people who try to pull you back because you know you're doing something that is going to build upon or be built upon. It's going to create something special. And then you're going to start to confirm your own suspicions. And what are they, Paul? Your own suspicions of how great you could be. Because you can. Because the whole point of this unplugged personal development stuff is you're always more than what you think you are. Always. Remember, you're not good enough because there's always more. You're awesome, but there's also better than awesome. There's always 1% better than awesome. And you can create your own reality. Literally. None of this lulu la la stuff, it's all out there. No, it's creating your reality because you are doing it. You are doing it. And that's what it's about. You are doing it. There you go. Have more fun than you can stand. Those old words of Tony Robbins. Live with passion and just question. How simple can I make this? Or do I need another simple step? I think that's another way of putting it. You're adding to it to make it even more simple. And remember, the effort is worth the reward you're going to get. And the return on investment is massive. Exponential, if that's the word. Anyway, until next time, we're going to come up with another deep dive into something I'm musing about. And if you want to tell me what you're musing, I love that word musing, something you're considering, something you're just playing with, and you'd like us to dive deeply together through a podcast, please do email me. Email me at feedback@Personal Development Unplugged. You could do that right now. Oh, sorry, it's unplugged.com. Feedback@Personal Development Unplugged. My mind was racing there because you could just stop now and go, right, where's that email? I'm going to tell Paul now. Let's talk about it. You could do the same in subscribing to this podcast. You could do it right now because you'll listen to this on that device you've got. And if you look at it, you'll find there's a button there which says either feed or subscribe if you haven't done it already. And if you look at the feed or that part of it, you'll also see that if you scroll down a bit, probably there's a place where you can leave a review because I'd really love a review. And you could do that right now, couldn't you? It would take you then probably a minute. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't it be great if we just exploded the internet with wonderful reviews? It would be great. And you would be part of that. The Personal Development Unplugged community, the family of unpluggers. Okay. Anyway, that's me rattling on too long, but I'm going to look forward to rattling on the next time with you, ear to ear. Bye-bye now. I know you're just about to go, but here's just a quick, like a heads down, heads up thingy. Few things. One is, if you love your hypnosis tracks, go to paulcloughonline.com/podcast. You get free access to loads of hypnosis tracks. Well, not all, but as many as the hypnosis tracks you get on these podcasts, and every new one will be there too. And that's all you've got to do. So it's paulcloughonline.com/podcast. Also, while you're there, you might just want to have a little look round to look at the programs I've got. I've got one which is called Supreme Inner Confidence, a think it's a brilliant program, if I say so myself, really to get your self-esteem high, get aligned, get all that inner confidence so you can have the life you want. There's also a lovely program that goes on for quite a bit, but it's also the first 5 days are absolutely free, so you really get to know what it is and make sure it's just for you. And that's all about freeing your life of anxiety. There's a few hypnosis tracks you can actually buy there as well. The Creating Your Inner Mind Palace and Complete Relaxation. Have a look, costs nothing to have a look. And there's even money back guarantees. So just do that. But free hypnosis tracks, they're all there for you. And lastly, please share this with everyone you know, subscribe, do everything you can if you would. It's a great compliment to you if you would, just to share this with people so we can all be part of this family of change and create the ripples of change that go so far and wide. Okay, that was it. Have more fun than you can stand. Bye-bye now.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.
Personal development unplugged.